Okay, good evening. I can see people starting to attend, so absolutely wonderful. I'm going to start straight away. My name's Graham Hooper. I'm Head of Driver Training Development at the DIA, and I've got a really good panel of people tonight. I'm going to let them introduce yourself, and we're going to be talking about, will PDIs thrive, survive, or dive? And I suppose really that could just as well apply to ADIs, but we know there's an influx of PDIs. So that's going to be our main focus. So I'm going to start, as a gentleman I'm going to start with Mr. Lavell.
Thank you very much, Mr. Huber.
Thank you.
Ian Lavell, that's who I am. A name not many people know. I think it's a combination of two of the parts you mentioned. I think at the moment, ADIs and PDIs are thriving. But if you keep blowing a balloon up, it goes pop. And then we might not thrive. Then we'll have to go into survive mode.
Okay. Thank you, Ian.
You're welcome.
Okay, someone's just put some information in chat. Fiona, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Fiona Taylor. I've been an ADI, not quite as long as Ian, but it's more than a couple of weeks. I'm looking forward to this evening and what comes out as part of the discussion. I think thriving is something that is, you need to make sure it happens for you. I don't think it's a sit-on ride.
Thank you, Fiona. Nicky?
Hi, I'm Nicky Harris. I've been an ADI nearly 24 years. So to your question, I think thriving isn't just based on luck. I think you actually have to plan, adapt, and continue to move to thrive.
Okay, thank you. And last but not least, Lee. Is it cold where you are, Lee?
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's I've got a jumper on and I was just covering up the branding on it. That's all.
Okay.
Yeah. Self-promote. I'm Lee Jowett. I've been an ADI. I always forget whether it's 2010 or 2009, but I think it was 2009. I think we're heading towards a crossroads. I think from everything that I'm seeing and we're seeing is on one hand, there's kind of maybe if you group people together, there's a group of PDIs that I can see coming into the industry and thriving and really, because they're buying in really early to their own development, and not only, their own development, but the development of the pupils, the mindsets in the right places. And then, not everybody has to have that mindset, but I think, on the other side, we have got that many numbers coming in that there's always the concern that, that you take too many people on and then, everybody's in a fight to survive. So,
as Mr. Lavell said, the bubble might burst,
yeah.
or the balloon might burst. However, I've been at this for 30 years and it's been a roller coaster within the industry. We've had recessions, it's gone up and down. To some people's disappointment, I've still survived. However, Fiona, what do PDIs need to do to thrive?
Oh, do you know, I think to thrive is look outside of the basics that they're getting. I think it's look outside of the basic skill set that people are encouraged to do. Right from part one, a PDI is expected to, the phrase that I hear quite often is, well, you go off and do part one on your own. Once you've done that, come back to us and then we'll work on part two. But I think it's go outside of yourself and of your trainer to find other ways that work best for you. You've got to know yourself. You've got to know what is and isn't working. But, you know, think about going outside.
Okay, what do you mean by going outside? Just expand on that.
Yeah, I think it's rather than just reading the books, you got to think how you struggle, but take that with you and remember that your pupils are going to struggle with that part one as well. I don't think it should be a solitary thing. It should be, well, what are you struggling on? Use that information when you're doing your part 3 training. Do you see what I mean? It's linking everything together. But make a note of what you struggle with, write it down so that you can use that later on. I think it's go outside of the basics of learn part 1, separate that from part 2, where you're doing your standard of driving, and it's linking everything. So go outside of the basics, think bigger picture, start to link it all. Part 1 links to your ability to help a new driver when they're struggling with their theory.
I mean, if I cast my mind back 30 years, PDI is actually spoiled now. I mean, there's so much opportunity to go to trainers and to gather different information from lots of different trainers. I mean, I know you all through your own continued professional development. You've all worked with me in the past at some stage or another, and you survived and didn't dive. Well done. Congratulations. I did my best. Yeah. However, I think because there's so much choice, I think sometimes picking where to go will be a problem. And I think I'll look at that as well. Has anyone got anything they want to contribute to? What will they need, PDIs need to do to thrive? Lee, you're involved with lots of them. What do you think they need to do to thrive?
I think for me, when I look at PDIs that I do see thrive, if keep it bigger picture, it's almost a mindset. They come in with the right mindset, they've got the right reasons for coming into the industry. I think this is a teaching environment, and I can't think of a more difficult environment to teach in. So if people come into it for the wrong reasons and without a mindset that I want to do as well as I can with this is a new career for me. In fact, it's more than that. It's personal development, and I'm looking to take this as far as I can. I think if somebody does that and puts the work and the effort in, I struggle to see that they won't thrive. So on the flip side, if you come in with the intention of doing as little as you can to earn as much money as you can, with little intention to better yourself, develop yourself, and coming on the right foundations, with the right foundations, going back to what Fiona was saying, then it's very difficult to imagine someone in that situation, particularly if the bubble does burst, actually, surviving it.
Yeah. So, Nicky, you run a driving school in Yorkshire.
Mm-hmm.
How do you see PDIs thriving, in that driving school environment, not just on their own, but in the driving school environment?
In the driving school area, they need support. So I think, they need the hand holding quite a lot of the time, not just being left on their own. And it's support, not just with their training, but actually how to run their diaries, what a business plan looks like, and always thinking beyond actually just passing the tests, as we try and do with the learners. So I find it a little bit disheartening that so many of them, once they qualify, they feel that's it, they've done it, and they don't need to do anything else. But I think to actually thrive, you do need to continue to develop yourselves. But it is the support when you're training and not being sold. I think not being sold an unrealistic dream. It's hard work to qualify. It's not something for the faint-hearted. You've got to really commit yourself time and money. And I think some of the ones who struggle, maybe they feel that they don't need to invest much into it.
Yeah, I agree. I think one of the big problems is that, and I noticed this. I mean, it's always been the same. But when I qualified, I committed to ongoing CPD and a business plan, which helped me. I see a lot of people, get to qualification.
Yeah,
That's it. Now I understand that they deserve a break. Because they put a lot of effort in and they want, maybe just relax a bit with the fact that they've become an ADI. However, yeah, I think going on to that thriving and surviving, if you stop investing, there is in yourself, there is a danger. Now, Mr. Lavell, you've been knocking around training PDIs for nearly as long as I have.
Nearly.
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 Yes. So what's your thinking? What's your advice to PDIs currently to help them? Because it's going beyond, isn't it, that Part 3 test? What do they need?
Absolutely. I think you've got to pay attention to the little things as much as you pay attention to the big things. As Fiona was saying, Part 1 can be a solitary, lonely, devastating exam when you're on your own. And unfortunately, that's the way people are doing it. But, if you get a question wrong, just, spend a bit of time researching why you got it wrong. Where were your misconceptions? Try and figure out why it didn't work. When you're on Part 2 and you're getting marked for whatever, how have you got into that habit? What consequences could that habit have if we had 200 newly qualified drivers doing that? Pay attention to the detail, because the devil's in the detail when you want to teach.
Absolutely. So I'll take a pause, Fiona, if there's anything in chat before I ask the next question.
Well, yeah, it's how do you encourage ADIs to carry on training, even when the training is free?
What do you mean by the training?
Well, yeah, that's what it is.
I know Stephen very well. He's got his own driving school up in Carlisle.
Yeah.
He's got a pet trainer as well.
Oh, I know he's got a pet trainer. Yeah, Mr. Lavell. Yes. Yeah. Does he feed you?
Yes.
Okay,
good. The training is free. Is that in-house then, Ian? Do you know what he means?
No, I know exactly what he means. He runs a CPD program.
Right.
But
as a driving school.
Yeah, for his ADIs. And the take-up doesn't feed me.
Okay.
Put it that way.
Yeah. And I think that's because people, look, I know that if I talk about the 100%, so if I take the 100% and go to the 80-20 rule, 20% are eager for more, 80% want to put their feet up and go, I've done it. I just want to be a driving instructor, which they're entitled to do. However, I think probably we know that, the rise is not continuous. At some point, it's going to plateau, and then it starts to go down gradually. It's not going to happen immediately, but I already know, speaking to driving schools, that there's a downturning in inquiries. There's an anonymous attendee says, does the panel think that PDIs should be paid? After all, they're not fully qualified. I suspect if they were not paid, there would not be as many PDIs. Yeah, but look, anyone over the age of 21 who's held a license over 3 years can teach people to drive. So for non-reward. So I think, part of, I think there is something along those lines when I'm thinking about it, that a lot of people are milking the pink badge as a license to be paid. But I think the DVSA have started to do something about it by generally refusing the third pink license unless in really big mitigating circumstances. And I suppose just mentioning the DVSA, I think that how will PDIs know what to do so that they can thrive? Now, I would have said, well, maybe the DVSA should tell them what to do, but that's the best joke I'm going to do tonight. Unfortunately, they're not, are they? So how would you suggest to PDIs that they can work out what, because they don't know what they don't know. If you're new in an industry, they don't know what we've got. Like, I mean, you know, if you look at the five of us, there's over 100 years experience of training PDIs. However, how will they know what to do? What direction would you point them in? Lee, would you like to answer that?
I'll have a go. I mean, in its most basic form, the sad thing is that they don't know. They won't know initially. In the first instance, they won't know, and by the time they hear us talking, some of them know that they didn't know, and then have ended up in a situation that's not ideal for them. Because generally speaking, those people with the biggest budgets are those that sort of get there first. So I think one of the things that I think is useful for people to understand is you get what you pay for. So you come into the industry and maybe you find out after the sort of, the horse has bolted, but you paid for something and you got it. Now, I've never seen anybody and thought, well, I don't know why they've trained you that. You didn't need that. It's just they haven't got everything that they need. So maybe taking the mindset that I am where I am, which is further forward than I was, and I'm going to need to find at this point more. I think once you've got your foot in the door and you start to know something, you start to know more about what you don't know. I think at that point, it's probably easier. Well, it's definitely easier to, from there, start looking for the things that you need. I think the problem comes in the initial decision that people make. They're often not going to know until, that point where they know that what they did wasn't necessarily the best thing for them.
I used to call PDIs mushrooms because you know how you grow mushrooms, don't you? Yeah, it's true. You keep them in the dark and you cover them in, you know what? And if you think about it, if you run a very large driving school, you do not want them to leave that driving school. So why educate them? Keep them within. You want them paying their franchises, you want them being educated from within and not expanding their growth mindset, to take a coaching phrase. So, I mean, just think out loud. Look, this is a Driving Instructors Association webinar. Join an association. Find a good Facebook group if you can. But there is, there is good information out there if you can filter. How else would you, if you were sitting in that PDI's shoes now, help them find out what they need to know? Fiona.
I was just going to say, we do have a question from Yvonne in the chat, but you can
I'll come to that after you speak.
Yeah. The thing I was thinking about was with regards to an individual, interest in those kind of developments would be part of what Nicky was talking about, having a business plan, as in you're not just a driving instructor, you're not just a teacher, you're running a business, you're a self-employed person. You need to spark your own interest, to spark that personal development. So if you have a niche already, some people come in and they know they have a particular passion or experience with neurodiverse people, or they know they're going to be good with anxious drivers, or if they want to go down the fleet route. But this is the discussions you need to have with your trusted people. And I think that's an important thing, is to find the trusted people, because you can say, what shall I do on Facebook, on one of the chat forums, and you just get bombarded with lots of noise, lots of different opinions, and then people shut down because it's too much, it's an overload.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think having your point, having a USP is a good idea. But USPs in the beginning, very niche, and growing that market takes time. So in some respects, you've got to be a jack of all trades initially.
Absolutely.
You've got bills to pay. Who, you know, how will you know what to do? I mean, you can speak to other driving instructors associations local to you at the test centre. How have they survived? What do they do? Again, you've got to cut the wheat from the chaff. But I know that I run business training with Tommy Sandu. I haven't done it for a while. And the reason I haven't done it for a while, surprisingly, the demand isn't there.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So the demand isn't there from two people, one who's grown a driving score of nearly 100 and the other person who's done multiple things within the industry and growing businesses and has survived very well for 30 years. No one wants to know. No, you know, they don't know. You know, understanding how to run a business is simple, but requires effort.
Diaries are full, though.
Diaries are full. Well, diaries are full. But then we've got, and that's a great point, because there's something else that I'm thinking about now. Your learners are going to be booking their own tests. So what happens when your learners have booked 8 tests within the same week? Nicky, maybe you want to answer that.
Well, I'm going to change my terms and conditions.
You're going to change my terms and conditions.
Yeah, for all the instructors, because otherwise it's got to be managed. You know, there's going to have to be understandings about when to book it, agreements. You know, because otherwise it's like all the other calls I get. You know, at least 5 times a day. I've managed to get a test next week. Can you take me? You know, so it's going to have to be carefully thought about to manage.
Definitely, because it's going to decimate someone's business.
Yeah.
You know, it could quite easily, you know, you just get 5 tests in a week, you know, and the thing is, you know, if they don't all pass, and you're lucky, you've still got business. And if they all pass, you've got to replace the 5. But of course, we want them to pass. Because doing a pass, good job, recommendations, reviews, grows the business. However, in the short term, have PDIs planned for that immediate loss, or have they got a queue? Ian, you've been around, as I've said before. Yeah,
just a few times.
Yeah. What tools, if you're a PDI today, what tools do they need to introduce into their business? Because there's lots of good tools out there now, which would help.
Well, to answer that, they need to assess their own strengths and weaknesses, don't they?
Okay.
They need to know what they're good at and what they're not so good at.
So maybe do a SWOT analysis.
What a good idea.
Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats.
Yeah.
And maybe start off with a pest analysis before they do that.
I love this job because of the acronyms.
Sociological and technological state of the world.
He's off on one, everybody. Come back in a couple of minutes till I quiet that and down.
Yeah. So, apart from maybe doing a SWOT analysis, is a good place to start, really.
But just think about what's working for you and what's not. You know, when you look at your phone, which messages do you dread? Why do you dread those? How can you turn that dread into delight? You know, simple little steps. You know, long journeys start with very small steps. And you can do a lot before you need to call somebody in to help you.
Okay. Fiona.
I'm just saying there's some questions in
let me do the questions and then I will come back to my questions. I feel there's so much pressure on to pass part 3 and my last attempt coming up, and the pressure is on even more now. It's been a long process and I'm not sure I'll carry on if it doesn't go my way. Well, of course it's going to go your way because you're going to make it go your way. You have to have them positive. I always remember Kelly's Heroes. Yeah. The guy with a tank. Positive vibes, man. Yeah.
Before my time, I think.
Oh, no. Well, I'm just old. Ian would remember it. Let me see if there was another.
I remember feeling the casting for it.
Yeah.
About PDIs being paid, Graham.
I've answered that one. Let me just go.
Okay.
What's the percentage of qualified ADIs compared to PDIs? I think it's and correct me if I'm wrong, it's getting towards 2/3 to a third, 2/3 ADIs and a third PDIs. If anyone's got up-to-date information, that's fine.
I
You can
didn't
correct me. There's a huge influx of PDI applications. Does this worry the old timers? No, cream rises. Yeah. I think lots of people become PDIs because they see being a driving instructor as an easy job. They can do part-time. They're not really interested in becoming a serious instructor, maybe. But then, how, will they survive if they're not prepared to put the effort in? So are all the people going to answer the above question or just one? Well, we have other questions. Anonymous attendee, apologies, but we do have a series of questions to get through. I'm sorry if you didn't like my answer, but there is a series of questions we need to get through as the panel. I'm just trying to touch on them. I bet they don't, because they all appear to be making money out of trainee PDIs and getting their fees. Oh, you naughty people, fancy being paid for putting in effort to work. Obviously, Anonymous wants to have a go at the panel now for doing very well. Well, I'm sure that I know all of you, and I know how much effort you've put in to get to where you are today. And it takes a lot of effort. So I think I'll ignore that person for the time being. Do they need a business plan? Do PDIs need a business plan, or could they get by without it?
I can answer that. I didn't have one. I did not have one, but then I didn't thrive. I did not thrive till much, much later. And I thought I was going to get out, but then I chose to have a plan, and boy, did I thrive after that.
Okay. So there was a catalyst somewhere along the line. You went and did some training, I believe, Fiona.
I
got
did.
re-inspired.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I think, look, myself as a trainer, mentor, coach, whatever label you want to stick on it, the biggest thing that I find in PDI training and ADI training is having the belief in the people that they will succeed. That's really empowering, just believing in people. Ian, do they need a business plan?
Well, like Fiona, I never had one. And shamefully, I haven't got one now.
Okay. Is that shamefully?
I don't like the business side of the business.
Mm-hmm.
Stick me in a car with somebody to train, I'm like a pig in clover.
Mm-hmm.
Make me answer telephones and answer questions. Ooh, don't like that side of it at all.
Okay, so we've got to go. So going back to those strengths and weaknesses, maybe we can find some, other people. There's that great poem, "No Man is an Island."
Yeah,
no woman is an island now as well.
I've got people who do admin for me.
Yep, good, absolutely. So I've always been a fan of business plans. I constructed a business plan, a 10-year plan when I started. They don't have to. I think people overthink them. They just have to be loose. It's a bit like sometimes. Look, if you're at the beginning, start with the end in mind. And that can change, but you can then go back to, well, how do I climb them steps on a ladder? So if you don't know how to do a business plan, just think about where you want to be in 6 months, 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, and then start to think about how you're going to get there. Nicky, did you have a business plan when you first started?
Not exactly, but I always knew I wanted a school, which was why
So there was the seed.
Yeah, that's why I called myself the Driving Academy and not Nicky Harris. So not a laid out plan, and then plans get knocked back and for various reasons. I think as a PDI you don't have to, but I think you've got to look beyond that part 3. And of course, if you're part of a good school, you don't necessarily need a business plan yourself, do you? Because somebody else is looking after you and doing all that side that maybe you don't like and helping you focus on teaching and becoming a better instructor. I think I did certainly do more training almost as soon as I qualified, though. And I think that was an important step forward.
Yeah, and I think, and in some respects, that's part of a business plan, Nicky, that continued professional development. Lee, did you have a business plan when you first started?
No, and I think it's interesting looking at it now and listening to people because I ran a driving school. I no longer. I didn't enjoy it. But the thing I was clearest about from the very minute I came into the industry was that I wanted to develop. And I think the thing I've done best is develop, so I think having something in mind that that you want to, if you're a bit sort of sketchy with what you want to do, where you want to get to and how you're going to get there, then you're probably going to end up with something that under a little bit of pressure sort of crumbles. And I could probably, look at that in relation to the driving school that I ran because I wasn't very clear on what I wanted to do with it. I grew it a little bit. People came and went. But ultimately, it wasn't what I enjoyed doing. But, the side of it that I'm doing now, the side of it that I committed to, with yourself and, many, many other fantastic people, and with all of these people that are on here as well as part of that I was very clear on that from the very get-go, even before I qualified into qualifying, and that's the bit where I've ended up. So there's definitely something in that.
Yeah, I would agree, Lee. I mean, it wasn't until I got lucky, and when I took my second check test, I think it was 18 months in, I got a grade 6, was when I realised how poor my training was. And I think that's really what sowed the seed in me becoming a trainer, because I thought, actually, the training I'm getting from a very large driving school isn't good. And I thought, there's lots of other people getting that. Maybe I can do something about it. And I like to think that I've been partway successful and not stopped with that. But again, that's just agreeing with you, that continued professional development. One thing I will say to people is network with the right people, because I got lucky when I was on a course with the DIA in Croydon about 28 years ago, and I met someone who was doing what was their national driver improvement schemes, and I never heard of them. And if I hadn't have had that conversation on a CPD course, I wouldn't have ended up senior trainer at Essex, Hertfordshire and Barnet. So, those things, if you want to thrive and survive, networking is probably a really good idea to help. I think Zoom is probably not a great place for networking, unfortunately. In person is probably better. And we have, various, conferences going on all over the country quite often, and CPD programs in person as well. So that's something that people could consider.
Graham, can I add something to the business plan thing?
You can.
Because it came to me while everybody was waxing so lyrical there. 3 of us, I think it was 3, well, at least half of us didn't really have a business plan when we started.
Yep.
Yet we've been successful. So perhaps the people who are entering the profession now maybe want to focus on a learning plan for themselves before they focus on a business plan for themselves, to get them to the point where the business becomes theirs. You perhaps need a learning plan.
And that helps add value.
Mm.
Gives you a USP amongst peers.
You'd still go through all those letters with full stops after them that you went through when we started talking about business plans. You can use all them.
Oh, yeah, they will still all be there. I think the key is, I think mine was quite simple. I decided I'd do 2 pieces of CPD every year. I was a ADI, and 30 years on, I've carried on doing that. For people who knew me, previous to this world, I've now been to university 3 times as an ADI, which is just unbelievable because I got asked to leave school. You know, so you don't have to be, you know, academically brilliant to do well. You do have to be passionate about learning. And if you think about it, it makes sense because you're going to teach. And if you're going to teach, you're going to learn. And they're all different. They're all individual. And so you're never going to stop learning because they're going to set you challenges all the way through. So if you love learning, this is a great industry to be in. Fiona.
It's not always about university. The CPD can come in really, really little things. And it can be free, as in go to the library. Yeah. Get your books, get your anything. TED Talks. It's everywhere. And
TED Talks. Amy Cuddy, Fiona. Do you want to do it? Do you want to do one now with her?
do I want to do one?
Yeah. For those who don't know, Amy Cuddy, she's famous in my brain for power posing. Yeah.
But there's the procrastination monster. And I know you know that one. But there's all sorts of there's free things out there. So
do you think there will be a race to the bottom? Because I've been in those. I've been there when there was a race. You know, 5 for 25, 5 hours for 25 quid. You know,
really?
There will be. I think there was even cheaper ones than that. There will be those. You're no witness, and there's probably driving schools already in that position. You know, there was lots of 5 for 65s. PDIs and ADIs front that, generally speaking, and not the schools. Will there be another race to the bottom if the learner market starts to cool? Lee?
I think it's the first thing that will happen. When I came into the industry, 2009, 10, we were in a recession. I think there was 48,000 driving instructors at the time. And yeah, there were people doing 10 lessons for £99. I think the minute the national schools and the bigger local schools start to struggle to attract the amount of pupils that they need, the very first thing that's going to be impacted is price. And that's where I think, you know, are you going to thrive, you know, or, you know, simply survive? I think that's where, because I never had an issue. I never had a problem with, you know, I always had, when I started my own driving school, I was way more inquiries than I needed to, although I didn't have a business plan. But I was very clear about, you know, what I wanted to promote and get the customers that I wanted. So I think for those people, you know, if I was going to maybe hopefully give something a little bit useful to people that are listening, if that is the case, don't start with your price. Don't start with your price. See what value you can add to what you do. See what you can do that sets you apart from the person next to you. You know, think about things like who you resonate with, you know, have a target audience, because all sorts of things like that can help you to not have to impact on your prices to attract the people. People don't really shop on price, they buy people. But the big schools, the first thing they will do is they will attack the prices, you know, in the hope that they get enough of the market. So yeah, I think look at yourself, business plan. Maybe they need a business plan.
Yeah, well, I've just read a friend of mine, Azif, has come on and said, Graham, I had a business plan. Just focus. In 5 years, I've built my own driving school and grown it to 67 ADIs and PDIs. So, yeah, but we're not all the same. I mean, I remember when I was initially training, I inadvertently grew a driving school to 10. Yeah, I didn't even try. People just wanted to come and work for me. And I thought, actually, this is why I gave up my previous job, because I don't want people working for me. And I gave them all 2 years notice to quit, and they were happy, and I didn't take any more on into my school because I didn't want to grow a driving school. So I think we all have to be clear in what we want, because it's not the same for all of us. We're all different. What happened, Ian, you've been around the block a bit. What happened in previous price wars?
Yeah, the fight for every pupil. It was horrible.
Because the numbers
undervalued as a professional.
Yeah.
Oh, that's expensive. I can get it for £8 down the road. I'll go down the road. I kind of break even on £8.
And what happened to the numbers of ADIs? I mean, we were down to about 34,000 at one stage.
Well, people, the people who make a living out of it can't make a living out of it.
So even so, I don't want to sort of like be too down on it, but we lost about 10,000. However, those who survived, there must have been a reason why those other 34,000 survived. And obviously the market shrinking helps, doesn't it, in your survival, because that's, that creates, more demand. If the number of ADIs shrink, at the moment, the number of ADIs are growing. But I don't think we're back to where we were, I think about 48,000 once upon a time. Yeah, so we've been here before. I'm just thinking that for people maybe already in the industry or coming into the industry, they need to be aware that it's not a straight line or a rise. It's up and down, and you need to find what's good. I remember doing a business course at Warwick University, and one of the things they said to me was, you need to find what to do if it all goes wrong, and it can all go wrong like that. And so you have a plan B. Fortunately, sometimes that advice is well worthwhile. Have you got a plan B?
Leather shorts and nighttime working.
Are you working in a Bavarian brewery?
I'm not adding any more to it in case anybody else steals my idea.
So, do you all think, I don't know, do you think there will be a race to the bottom, or it will just be a little bit of a dip? What's your opinion, Fiona?
Oh, I hope not. I think that's a real shame, because as you said, Graham, the people who fork out for those offers are the people who need it. And then to me, fatigue sets in to an individual if you've got to work those extra hours just to feel like you're earning some money. And then you get the pupils that then hop from school to school to pick up the offers. They don't have continuity. That I really hope not.
Yeah, I mean, Fiona, you just reminded me of when I was married, 2 young kids, mortgage rates 15%, and I was doing 60 hours a week just to survive. And a treat would be literally on a Friday night, we'd walk down to the river, get some fish and chips in and have 1 pint, one glass of wine and 2 Cokes for the kids, and walk back again, because it was that tight, and I was doing 60 hours a week. The money sounded good, but our expenses, the cost of living, is also something to consider. Was it today when the DVSA announced that rough prices are between 36 and 40 quid across the UK?
Yeah.
What's your opinion with that? Is that, let's just go with 40 quid just for the moment. Is 40 quid the right price? Is it enough to thrive, survive, or will they dive? Nicky?
I mean, I think your price has to, you've got to look at what you need to earn. And even if you don't have a business plan, you have to know what you need to bring in to, you know, put everything on the table. And I think certainly from before, when everything was discounted, you know, quite a few people were doing it part-time, so they felt they didn't need to charge that much. And then that undermines the rest of the people in the industry who, you know, who do want to charge a professional rate. So you're going to be a busy fool. I think there's a lot of busy fools around, and I think you should charge what you're worth, but then make sure you are worth that by giving the quality that price, you know, you're demanding, really.
And that's a really good point. Make sure you're worth it. Well, I know how are you going to make sure you're worth it? We're back to where we were in the beginning, aren't we?
Yeah.
You know, I would imagine we all believe that we offer value for money and we're worth what we charge because of the effort we put into our continued professional development along the way.
And the reputation that you hopefully build.
Yeah. But that reputation is interesting because, you know, long live the king is dead, you know. And also with new people coming into the industry, they haven't got a clue. They don't know what you've done in the last 30 years. They will have no idea. So yeah, your industry, it's a bit like football, Lee. You're only as good as your last game. Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, so we can improve and you can't get any better. But
Graham, I had a friend who was, at the time, she was the youngest ADI to qualify when they changed it. She's retired now. However, back in the day, before the big schools and those major franchises, the hourly rate for driving lessons was just around the same price as a driving test.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's certainly nowhere near that now, is it? But that was the benchmark, and it was only when the driving schools came along, apparently, this is what she said, that that's when the price diving became a thing that became commonplace, which is a shame, because then how much money would we be?
I just want to go to chat because Stephen has made a great point here, saying I'm a relatively new ADI, and this is for you, Ian, in some respects, compared to your experience, and very kindly said amazing people. I probably disagree with that, but I have no business plan. However, I'm currently like a sponge soaking up as much info as I can, from CPD Zooms, 3 already this year, to the Bright Coaching Diploma starting next month. Is this the type of learning plan Ian is talking about? And do I need a business plan to work alongside my learning plan?
Well, as I never had a business plan, I would say you don't need a learning plan to work alongside a business plan, or vice versa. It depends where you, as we've discussed, it depends where your own personal strengths and weaknesses are. So if you don't know that, go through a SWOT analysis or any of the other ones that you mentioned before, Graham. So I think it's one of those things where if you're interested in something, that's going to give you much better returns than just, oh, I haven't done that one.
I think, Ian, there's a great point. If you're interested, I'll tell a brief story about me. I remember when someone phoned me up, and I'm very much an I can person, and said, will you teach me to be a driving instructor? I said, yes, of course I can. And then I went out and I gave them their first training session. Now, they didn't know I was rubbish, okay? I knew I was rubbish. And I remember going back indoors and going, what am I going to do? That was absolute garbage. All I've just done is repeated the same rubbish training that I was given when I became a PDI, because I think I didn't know any different. And I thought, I've got to do, I can't take this. I can't do that. I can't deliver this type of training. And I enrolled at the University of Canterbury and done a 2-year course to become a teacher. So I got an advanced certificate of adult education, stage 1, 2, 3, 2 years of night classes. Yeah, that 2 years of night classing, that work that I put in there has paid me dividends over and over and over again. And I'm still using the stuff that I was using back then. I even bought a new book, Principles and Practices of Teaching and Training, which is all to do with what used to be known as the FENTO standards, but about teaching in colleges, because I still want to keep up to date with that adult education, because I still work business to business a lot. And I think once you get into something, you can just keep going and going and going. And all I will say is I've spent probably tens of thousands now on CPD, and as some of them gurus in America that flog you all in, I've not just 10x that, I've 30x that, which has been absolutely amazing. But it didn't come without the hard yards. And I think that's what I sometimes find that people are in a rush now and don't understand that, you didn't get to where you are today because someone went, well, there you go. I know all 4 of you worked damn hard at it. And it pays dividends. So I think maybe not a business plan, maybe prepared to work hard at what you do.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think, and then some things come to you. Like I was never thinking about going on a teacher training course until I realised how rubbish I was. And then I thought, I've got to do something about it. And off I trotted. And that's paid dividends. And like that I then went to the University of East London for 2 years, developed my coaching practice, became a fellow of the International Authority of Professional Coaches and Mentors. It doesn't just happen. It takes years.
I think, sorry, just to put us, I think that's the thing, because you mentioned, sort of finding your passion for it, finding what your interests and where your interest lies. I consider myself really lucky in terms of timing, because I think if I'd have come into the industry when you did, Graham, or when you did, Ian, or you, Nicky, I don't think I'd have stayed in the industry that long, because I actually, I only really was instructing for about 12 months, but I already was disinterested in it, and because I didn't believe in it. As a standalone teaching method, I thought there's got to be more. And luckily, I came into the industry just at the time when the more was starting to be delivered and put out there. And that's facilitated my ability to spend 10 plus years developing something that actually really interests me. And I don't think, I look back at what was available before that, and there was a diploma in driving instructing and etc.
I mean, basically, there was a DIA diploma, which I did many years ago. I think there was the ROSPA diploma in advanced driving techniques, did that as well. And of course, all 4 of you did the BTEC level 4 in coaching for driver development, which I think was a catalyst for lots of great trainers in the industry. And I think out of those seeds, many other courses have grown, which is absolutely fantastic, because it did what it said on the tin. The idea was to develop ADIs, and it worked. Now, I think there's a lot of fragmentation, and I think it's difficult. It's difficult to choose what, I think you've got to know where you're going, haven't you? A little bit. It's a bit like going on a journey. You can drift along. There's nothing you can go with the Dow, that's okay. And drift along and enjoy the moment, flow down the stream. However, if you want to go somewhere, you know, and especially if it's west, you can always start walking east. You will get there eventually. So someone's just come in with a question. I think this is going to be a really. I'm going to ask the panel this one at a time, starting with Fiona. What's been the most lucrative course you did and why?
Well, it's the one you said, Graham. It was the one that doesn't exist anymore, sadly. But I was in the job 6 years. So, and then in 2011, I decided to do the BTEC level 4, and it was the best thing from day one. I could not believe that was the missing link for me. I was getting so annoyed. I couldn't understand why it just doesn't work. It just, our industry needs to change, and I'm devastated it's gone, because that was the catalyst, and it's left its mark. If you think about, the BTEC 4 was around before the changes came in to the standards check, and it well, you know how I feel about it.
Okay, Ian, for you.
Well, I've got to agree with Fiona.
Okay.
Because if I hadn't done the BTEC 4, I wouldn't still be an instructor.
No, me either. No.
Okay, it's interesting because, okay, Nicky.
Well, I would probably say the same, just for changing. I think whoever said knowing that there's something different. So I was obviously trained old school, but knew that that wasn't necessarily the best way. So I think it was helping you to see that there was a different way. And then from that, you just kind of develop further and further.
Lee.
Without naming any names, but what I would say is that, and then maybe this won't always be the case for everyone, but the most expensive in theory courses, you know, the most expensive in terms of initial outlay, were my best investments. You know, and I also, because as I said earlier, I was quite lucky that I came in at a time when something that did interest me. So then to have the BTEC 4 there, to have the driver psychology course at Cranfield University, train the trainer when I was, you know, when I was looking at that side of it, that had a coaching approach to it. None of these things were in and of themselves cheap from a cost perspective, but they were from what I gained from them. And so the other thing I'd say is that if you know where your interest lies and you keep, you know, pushing yourself forwards where your interests lie, then you will pick up courses that are relatively cheap and cheaper. You know, another course that I've done so many times now, because now she's a friend of mine, but I must have done it about 10 times. It wasn't overly cheap at the time, but in comparison, it wasn't as expensive as something like the BTEC but Diane Hall's driving test nerves workshops. They're, you know, fascinating stuff in that thought field therapy and things like that. So much. But I think, yeah, don't be put off by price, because I've never not gained from something that that cost me money. I've gained. There's some of the things that I've done that weren't expensive or that were free have wasted me time.
Well, I'm not going to talk about a course. I'm going to actually talk about an old friend of mine. Some of you will know him very well. I flew to Ireland to meet him for the first time, John Farlam. He became my mentor, and we ended up in business together. And it was, I think, what I will say about that, it was the first time I met someone in the industry who thought like me. I felt very alone in the beginning. So I would suggest, if you can find a mentor or a coach, invest in them. Make sure you'll find out if they're the right people or not. but invest in them. I know that you know, people come to me regularly, and I've helped them develop their business, and their businesses have grown. But there will be someone that you can find out there, and if you can find the right coach or mentor, then so coaching's different really when you know you're finding the solutions for yourself. A mentor, like, you'll become the, you know, the mentor's apprentice, shall we say, and you'll listen to the advice they give. So somebody was saying, I've done the BTEC 4. Enjoyed it and made my thinking a lot broader. Is there an alternative for the BTEC 4? I would imagine, and I haven't done it, so I can't speak for myself, but I should imagine that Stuart Lockery's Bright Coaching would be on the same lines, as Stuart was one of, you know, came out, he did the BTEC 4 as well, so he'd be singing off the same hymn sheet. But, you know, I always have a problem about recommending things that I haven't done. I need to have done them myself. So, final question, really. Moving forward, and I'm sort of going to know the answers. I think everybody else does, but what mindset will a PDI need to thrive and survive and not die? So, I'm going to start with Lee.
I think the mindset really, when I see people that that sort of thrive in the PDI journey and then, you know, take off as an ADI, they've got it's a growth mindset, but they've got a hunger for the role. You know, they're coming in with the right mindset. They're coming in for the right reasons. They're coming in because they want to help other people to succeed, and they're determined to be the best also that they can be. And those things will take you as far as you want them to.
Okay. Nicky.
Passion for road safety, really, because that's, you know.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Nicky, because I think that's what's kept me going 30 years. Yeah, road safety.
Yeah. And I think that needs to be one of the number one reasons that you want to try and help somebody to, you know, we've got to reduce the numbers, haven't we, of young people dying on the roads. So
it just crashes, just stop them crashing.
Yeah.
I think he's you know, developing those self-evaluation techniques, and I think we're all passionate about that. So I think that's a really good point, and you know, thank you, Nicky, for bringing that in, really, because you're never going to get rich at this job. So if you haven't got a passion, whatever that may be, then road safety for some of us has been the driver. But you can find your own driver. Fiona.
Well, that's what I've heard. That's what I've picked up from everybody who's been on anything CPD wise that I offer, is they really want to help. So I think that's what you need. You need that passion, that drive, everything that everyone else has said, but that passion to want to help people. If you're not interested in people and you just think it's going to be easy, this job isn't for you, because it isn't. It isn't. It's so different. Every day is different, wonderfully different. But that joy of helping people.
Thank you. Ian.
I've got two, and I don't know which one to go for.
Well, you can have them both. Go on.
Oh, cheers, mate. The first one is be curious and interested about and because of everyone you meet.
Yeah.
And the second one is the little engine that can.
Do you want to expand on that one?
Basically, if you think you can or you can't, you're going to be right. It's going to happen.
Yeah. The old pits and pets.
Yeah.
Performance interfering thoughts and performance enhancing thoughts. Okay, for me, look, you need to have a growth mindset. I think the DIA Academy is a great place to go, and it will have a whole pick and raft of things that you can get into. So from like teaching and learning certificates to assessor qualifications, fleet, the usual CPD stuff, it's there. So that's a great place. Maybe if you're not sure where to start looking, go and look at the DIA Academy. And if you're a member, obviously you get discounts, so even better. So a little plug for the DIA. Funny enough, it says that on my little square as well. Has anybody in the audience got anything that they would like to add before I wrap up and thank the panel? So we'll give them 30 seconds. And has the panel got anything they'd like to finally add before I wrap up? Coming in now.
Do your homework.
Do your homework.
Yeah, I think also be prepared for the knocks and be ready to get back up again, because you will get them.
Yeah.
Yeah, life, the school of hard knocks, you know, reminds me, I love children, because children, when they fall over, they get up and go again.
Yeah.
When adults go now, quit up, go to the pub. Yeah. So yeah, be a child. Yeah. That would be my best advice. If you're a PDI and only focused on earning full-time money straight away, you're thinking short term. Invest in your training, your standards, and your development first. The money follows competence. That's a nice one. The money follows competence. Yeah, because if you get good at what you're doing, people come to you. Sarah Jenkins raised a hand. Do you want to? Have you got something to say, Sarah? Because I'm not sure I can bring you in because they didn't give me the tech on this one to bring you in. So if you want to stick something.
She said, sorry, fat fingers.
Sorry, fat fingers. Oh, good, because there's me going through the tech going, how do I bring someone in? However, let's just have one quiet final view in chat. Thanks for the youthful insights. Comes from Katie. Thank you, Katie. It's been a pleasure. It's always good to share and to give. I mean, no one here is getting any money for tonight. So for those who accused us of thinking that we might, we're here of our own free will. Which social media pages would you recommend to follow? As a new PDI, I'm staggered with the level of disinformation out there. I'm only going to recommend go to the DIA one, aren't I? You know, at least that's going to be a professional organisation giving professional advice. I'm going to do a level 4 in assessment, Stephen Waterhouse. So, yeah, it would be my advice. It wouldn't be my advice to go and do that if you're going to do anything. But that's what I'm off to do at some stage in the near future, because there's things coming where I'm going to need that internal assessor qualification. Yeah, Lee. I mean, we like Cranfield University, don't we, Lee? So Dr. Lisa Dawn is a great place to go.
She's been brilliant, yeah.
Yeah. Well, another mentor of mine, someone I've worked together. I was lucky to work together closely with Lisa over the last 15 years. And just working with someone, she educated me immensely. Yeah. Are any postgraduate certificates looked at in the industry? I don't think they're looked at. I don't think anyone really gives a monkeys about what my CV says. I think they're more interested in the fact, will I deliver for them? And I think I will deliver because I did the CPD to be able to deliver. Does that make sense? Ian, anything you'd recommend in the current climate?
Be yourself and practice what you preach.
Yep. I think self-awareness, it all starts, doesn't it? These people know it all starts with self-awareness, you know, and if you can raise your own self-awareness, you're already then on that stepping stone to success. Fiona?
Oh, just really focus on your personal skills, isn't it? Those interaction skills, the listening, the rapport stuff that we know is so vital, but you really need to listen.
All right. Well, with that, I'd like to thank everyone for attending. I think we've got another Motormouth coming up, and that one's about audits, and we'll let you know the dates. If I was clever, I'd know, but it's probably not one of my fortes at the moment. Let me just have a look and see if it's coming up. It'll be on a Thursday, won't it, Graham? Because this was supposed to be on a Thursday. There's a DVSA one. Let me just have a look. No, not sure when it is. Sorry. There is another Motormouth coming up in between 2 to 4 weeks' time. But if you're following the DIA, we will let you know. Panel, good to see all 4 of you together. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time and your input. Really appreciated. And hope to catch up with you all soon.
Yeah, hope so. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.